basics, eCarrierChecks is the key. Innovating the process, can't you see? With the platform so smooth, keeps the workflow tight. Efficiency and value, I see every single night. Risk profiles, they got 'em, man, it's no joke. North America's the stage and they never choke. Metrics on point, updated without fail. Chameleon carriers, they're on the trail. Don't play with unsafe companies, don't be that guy. eCarrierChecks, keeping it safe under the sky. 40 plus filters with the search that can drive carrier information in the FMCSA archive. Find your carrier with precision and needs. Location, equipment feeds. They got the keys. FTL shipper leads. They're right there for you. Real-time authorities, what they do. Crazy, breezy, ultimates. The dashboards away. Freedom from low boards. They got it every day. eCarrierChecks, the architect leading the way.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the eCarrierCheck Show. Excited to be here. Talk about some market updates. We've got a special guest on here in a little while. Nate, we have had a great week. It's honestly, we continue to hear the same thing over and over again, but a lot of phone calls, a lot of good feedback from people. And honestly, eCarrierCheck's always trying to get better. I got to give it up to our programmers. They've always got new insights, new thoughts. Today, we're just talking about the market, where things are at, what's going on, what's some of the news things. So excited to talk a little bit about that with you, Nate.
Me too.
Give me a rundown, man. You're literally in the ditches digging, brother. What's going on? What's some of the things that you're hearing about that's kind of interesting to you?
Well, yeah, that's when you hit it on the head. What's up, T. Harris? I saw you call yesterday, man. Sorry, we'll get back to you today, brother. Give me a call today if you get some time. But the one thing that's nice about eCarrierCheck is you said our dev guys have been grinding. Since when we take calls and we hear feedback from our customers and just potential people that want to team up with us, it's nice because our developers kind of put their heads together and like, hey, we should come up with this feature.
Yeah.
If this is beneficial to, these 10 people, it must be beneficial to others. So, that's what I love about our team. But it's been a really great week. I'm glad we're talking market today.
Yeah.
Because besides the weather, you love watching the market.
I do, man. I'm a big fan.
And you've been saying, I think if you say, I didn't get in touch with the market until I met you and started getting in this industry. But I see where it could add a lot of value when you're trying to speak with customers.
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking their language. So if you're not keeping up with the market, try your best to maybe dabble in it. Find someone on LinkedIn that kind of summarizes the market up. But I think staying in touch with the market is a big, big plus, a big positive.
It also gives you more things to talk about.
It does, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think something, I don't know about you, but I struggle with small talk.
Same, yeah. Same.
You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily, I think about the different groups that I hang out with, and my parents are a terrible group. I don't want to hear about their ailments. I'm sorry, Dad. No, I don't even know if he's watching.
More cheap,
but sometimes I struggle with small talk, and when you're trying to small talk a shipper, small talk a carrier, right? Small talk a broker, it's convenient to know some of this market stuff, man. Yeah. It really is. You know what I mean? And I think what it does is it just helps you give you relatable things. And I'll give you some examples. We're going to dive right in. Chief Freight Hauler, what's up, brother? Where you been? What's going on with you, man? It's always good to hear from you. I like that he's on. But here's probably one of the most interesting things. They just put out this report, U.S. cargo theft by top 10 states from last year to this year. Let's play a guessing game. Give me the top three. Who are the top three? I'm not even letting you look.
You talking about the
top three direct into the point. It's hard to do small talk. Man, you and me both, brother. I struggle with it.
Yeah,
I do. I struggle with it.
Not many people have time for it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Hey, you want me to guess some states?
Yeah, give me the states. Right. Top 10 states, but give me top three. I want to hear. Okay, Texas number 2.
Okay,
Texas number 2.
I think of the bigger ones. Let's do Georgia.
I'm not letting you look. I was really surprised. Actually, Georgia's number 5.
Okay.
I was really surprised this state wasn't larger. And if you and I are college football fans, it just started last night. I'm obsessed with college football, and
You're wearing? Is that your Husker shirt you're wearing?
it may be. I don't want to talk about
That's
it. I'm just so excited. You got your Husker shirt on. We play tomorrow. UTEP. Turn it on. It's Fox. Atlanta. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Georgia, man. Georgia's up there. It's not number one, though. I was surprised. I was really surprised. There it is. California hits the head, man. I mean, there's 787 total cargo thefts recorded in the first half of 2024. That's increased 49%.
Holy cow.
That's wild to me. I was really surprised Florida wasn't higher. It goes California, Texas, Tennessee, Illinois, Georgia, New York, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Florida, and then Maryland.
I did not expect Tennessee. I don't know why, but
I wasn't expecting Tennessee either. I wonder if it's something that they're bringing in on train or something. Or
right. Interesting.
Now, what was really interesting about this, average loss per incident, 115,000.
Jesus.
So you think about, how much insurance, a lot of carriers, for the carriers watching, how much cargo insurance do you cats hold? I really would love to know. You get a lot of carriers that just come into the game at a minimum. They got 100,000, average is 115. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? With the cost of inflation, should insurance minimum requirements go up?
You think, right? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, insurance sucks.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Insurance.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
It costs so much money for a carrier. I can't imagine what cheap freight haulers charging. Just set an appointment in 5 minutes that the broker had been trying to do for 3 hours. Maybe I missed my call in as a driver. See, he's got 250. He's a good carrier though.
Yeah.
Some carriers only just come into the game at 100. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do you do here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, here's what I thought was probably the most interesting thing. Let's talk about by product, what is being stolen the most.
This will be fun.
I love this. I find this really interesting. And there's some stuff in here that I wouldn't have expected, by the way. Top 3, give them to me.
Tobacco.
I think tobacco is
on
here. Yeah, no, tobacco's on here. It's not number 1.
Oh.
Not that many people are smoking these days.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
There's
they may be zinning out. They're
zinning
out. I saw an article the other day talking about Zyn, and Philip Morris is putting a new plant in Kentucky because Zyn, which we know several brokers that Zyn out.
Red Bull's in it.
Zyn, that's all you need.
Miller Lite in it.
How
about refrigerated stuff? Like meats.
That's an interesting point, actually. You would think that would be number 1. Food and drink are up there. Electronics is number 1, man. 23% of the thefts, TVs, computers, things like that. Home and garden is number 2 with like appliances.
Interesting.
You can imagine just stealing a load of refrigerators.
People just can't wait till Black Friday, huh?
Dude, I'm telling you, Coke should be near the top. I freaking love that. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, I mean, if you've got a load of like, let's be honest. Maybe somebody can tag. If somebody could tag
sodas,
some cat that actually, steals these refrigerators. Like, what do you do with a full load of you get a semi-load of refrigerators? A, do you own an appliance cart personally?
Yeah.
And B, how do you sell refrigerators? You just get on Facebook Marketplace and sell refrigerators?
Right. I honestly bet that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, gosh, that's crazy.
I mean, is Facebook Marketplace where all of this is being sold? Where else is it being sold?
Is Craigslist still a thing?
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Miscellaneous is number 13 or number 3, and it's mostly parcel service stuff. So, this also includes, the Amazon just dropped a package off and it was stolen
at your front door or something.
My poor brother-in-law, this cat, he has gotten so many Amazon packages stolen.
Oh God, yeah.
I actually know a guy who got caught in a stolen load of Cokes. You're
Jesus.
kidding. What do you do with an entire load of
right?
And he's talking like Coca-Cola, like soda, right?
Yeah.
He's not talking like cocaine.
Yeah, what do you do?
What do you do with a load of Coca-Cola? Are you going to like honestly? Here's what I'm doing.
You have a weird obsession with Coke.
How do you? I love Coca-Cola. If I have a whole load of Coca-Cola, here's where my mind goes. Okay. Now I'm not a thief by any means, but if I have a whole load, I got 53 foot front to back of Coca-Cola. I'm gonna go to Home Depot. Okay. I'm gonna get a generator and three refrigerators, and I'm gonna show up at the local high school game or local college game. Not D1. We're talking D3. I'm keeping it local class. I'm not going D1, and I'm just selling Cokes for $1. Like. You want a Coke?
I'm going to be right next to you doing hot dogs. I'm not stealing the hot dogs. I'm going to buy them.
I'm just saying, I don't know what you do with a 53-foot load of Coke. I mean, how many Coca-Colas is that?
I should ask my cousin. He actually drives for Coke and
40,000 pounds of Coca-Cola.
That's crazy, man.
That's out of control. I honestly don't even know where to go with that. It would be,
if you drink a Coke a day, not even a Coke a day. Let's say how many Cokes a day do you think you can handle? You know what I mean? Like until it's gone.
That's millions of calories.
Oh
it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's disgusting.
Either way, how do I relate this back to shippers? Boy, if I'm calling shippers that are shipping electronics in California, I'm going, hey, I would love an opportunity to work with you. It looks like you ship electronics out of California, which is the #1 state. I'm sending them this article and saying, here's how I vet my carriers.
I love this because everyone's always asking, how do I send a good follow-up email that adds value? Right here.
You just literally send this article and just say, hey, this is how I vet my carriers. Here's how I know that it's not going to get stolen, or here's what we do. We used to work. I used to work for an LTL company called Nebraska Transport, incredible company, 3rd generation, family ran. I loved every second of it. It was the black and gold. It's just so good. I'm up here in y'all's neck. Where are you at? Oh my gosh! What did cheap for that? At $6-7 a 12-pack. How much is a couple thousand 12-packs worth?
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's football season. You could just go get a couple fridges. They pay for themselves real quick. You just stop. You're driving. You become the Coke guy instead of the ice cream guy around town.
I don't know how that sounds, the Coke guy.
Yeah, but Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, cool guy.
Apologize. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, Tarek, where you at, brother?
Oh my gosh. But that's what I would do with it. If I'm a shipper and I'm getting a broker or a carrier calling saying, hey, I see you're in electronics, or I see you're in food and drink, or I see you're in clothing and shoes. Those are all like top percentage, right? Yeah. Personal care. Pharmaceuticals is only 5%. You'd think that they would be stealing more pharmaceuticals.
If we were brokers today, I think the first thing we do this morning is we go look for customers who's niche in this.
Yeah. Match these two up.
Match them up.
Yeah. Match up, food and drink, electronics, clothing, and then go to these top 3 states, California, Texas, and Tennessee.
It'll get weird.
And just say, hey, yeah, I know you're shipping these kind of products. Yeah. How can I help you? Right? Or here's how I vet my carriers so that I know that we don't lose them. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, it doesn't get into like cargo theft, like, is it just a double broker situation, or the carrier, stole the entire load and you don't know here, or is it like actual like Wild West?
I was thinking like Fast and the Furious shit.
Yeah.
Taking down semis and
exactly.
Who knows?
Interesting article. I really enjoyed reading that, and I mean, obviously there's millions of dollars that are at loss here.
Dude, yeah.
But if you're a guy in sales, mm-hmm. that's how I'd use that article. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You just have to take it and go. In fact, it actually says these strategies are evolving with some gaining prominence. Theft of a full truckload, 34%. Pilferage, 33%. I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what that means.
Facility thefts. This is where I was going with the LTL. We used to do electronics and like refrigerator stuff mm-hmm. in an LTL manner, like less than truckload, where you'd pick up like 20 foot of truck and take it to these small town appliance shops, where they sell it. And in that particular case, that's what they hit, right? These drivers were in with the company. They ended up taking some of this stuff, and it was quite a learning experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We used to ship tobacco too, by the way.
Really?
And this is wild. It was always shrink wrapped in black.
Okay.
Instead of clear shrink wrap, it was black shrink wrap.
Yeah, just kind of hide it a little bit.
And we'd move, a load of tobacco, and this was like, 10, 11, 12, this is dating myself. This is 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a load of tobacco was 100 and some thousand, even back then. And I think we were just hauling like chewing tobacco. Like it was just cans of coconut.
Those logs, yeah.
Yeah, just
interesting.
skull. I don't think they actually sell snuff anymore, but it looked, like that.
Is that the snuff that you put on your hand? You can like sniff.
Yeah, the Cowboys have just hit it. We're in Nebraska.
They still do that. I saw some lady at the casino doing that a couple months ago.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
The thieves commonly occur warehouses, unsecured parking lots. So depending on where you're parking your truck when you're resting, watch yourself there. Most thefts happen. I love this, by the way. Most thefts happen Monday through Friday. They're not working weekends, bro.
I would expect it to be on the weekend.
If you're stealing, they're not working weekends.
Maybe
and
not,
then
I don't know.
this is even better. 30% of thefts occur between 12 p.m., so right after lunch, and 6 p.m. They're not working weekends or nights.
Yeah.
I mean,
it makes sense. I mean, if you think of like people that are robbing homes, like they're doing it while you're at work, right?
that's true.
You know what
that's
I mean?
a valid point. That's a valid point.
But to take weekends off is kind of crazy to me. I feel like I'm not a thief, so obviously I'm confused here. But you think the weekends would be hot?
Yeah, that they even say that it's in California right now. It's 58 thefts per month. So
Jesus.
one almost 2 thefts daily.
I'm sure more.
Man,
Sure more for sure.
that's rough. Either way, that's what I'm sending to shippers. I'm just gonna pull the house down and we're doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought this was interesting. So we chat GPT'd, where things are at with operating margins. We'll kind of keep going here. There's some operating margins that are obviously extremely tight. We'll take CH Robinson because I'm sure some of you carriers have gotten loads from CH, or even some of you brokers have worked, for CH, something like that. Their operating margin right now is 9.8%. That was their last quarterly, right? They have made drastic cuts into their employees. They've slashed 2,400 employees worldwide this year.
Oh gosh.
Right?
Yep.
But what I think is probably the most interesting thing is they've seen a rise in operational income. But if you watch like their CEO is obsessed with technology. We just saw an article about a month ago where they said they were working on automating quotes back to clients.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so, in any particular case, as this economy is challenging, this is the biggest dog on the block. They're sitting at 9.8% margin right now, which is crazy. And unfortunately, they've cut their costs by essentially investing in technology in order to get rid of human power.
How do you think automating quotes like that? How do you think? I feel like that would bite you in the ass one day or another. You know what I mean? Like, it's to automate those quotes.
I bet they get so many spot market quotes.
Like they're just gathering all the.
I'm gonna guess that they're getting so many emails from all these little shippers, mid to small shippers. Hey, how much is this LTL? Or is this truckload? Or how much is this partial? Or hey, can you do this? And CH does it all, right? And so that's it's one of those things where it just takes it on.
That's fair.
So
Good point.
We've got our special guest in the house. I'm excited. She comes on once a month and she brings the house. Samantha Jones, welcome to the show. How are you this week? How are you? How's life? Just tell us.
Doing good. I'm doing well. Today is the day that things cool down from like 98, 100 degrees here to the 70s for the weekend. So it's right in time for a 3-day weekend. So I'm feeling good.
Take it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Samantha, obviously you follow the economy fairly closely, and I know you want to talk about what you want to talk about. But when you see C.H. Robinson, they're this monster of a company. Just investing heavily in technology, slashing employees, things like that. What does that tell for you? From a standpoint of where do you see that market shift kind of just going more into AI, more into that automation functionality. What does that mean for us humans here? We're going to lose our jobs, or what's this mean to you?
So I have actually quite a few opinions on this. Let me try to be concise. This is something I've been saying for a while, actually, and it's not even just about AI. I think we kind of hyper focus on AI. It's just about technology in general too, right? And industry advancements. The way things used to be done was very manual, and a lot of parts of it still are, but it wasn't that long ago that we were still using, like, everything was paper. So when, like, the pandemic happened, everybody freaked out, like, how are we going to get BOLs? How are we going to do anything without scanning something into a system and emailing it as an attachment, or like uploading it in the system? Because now we can't hand papers back and forth. And it's like, that's, I think, when we realized, holy smokes, like, something's not right here, right? Like, we've had this fully electronic, digitalized environment in, you name it, public transportation, airports, whatever it is, forever, but we couldn't figure it out in trucking. So we've made a lot of advancements. There's a lot of new technology coming on the scene, and now we are pushing more into the automation, more leaning into AI and some things of that nature. Do I think that we will ever reach a point where there is a fully, like, digitized brokerage or carrier, for that matter? Absolutely not. No, we won't. But we also have two interesting industry problems happening right now, where anybody who owns a business here will know exactly what I'm talking about. When's the last time you tried to hire entry-level talent? Like, it was extremely difficult, right? Especially if you're like a trucking company or a brokerage and you want someone to sit in like a track and trace role, what is tracing? That's always been weird to me. A tracking role. And like, why do we call it that? Or, you want someone to do whatever, collect PODs all day and enter them into a TMS system. Like, no, but that is not something somebody wants to do for 8 hours a day, if we're just being honest. And so I was just talking to one of my clients about this yesterday. What our solution was, we offshored the problem, right? So that was one thing that we did. I think people forget, like, when you offshore something, they're still a person who has all the same goals for their life as the people here. They just happen to have a lower cost of living in a different country. So the money is different, but the effort that they want to put into it, the reward that they want to feel, and the culture they want to be a part of is no different. So we really have the same challenges, or you get a lower productivity, which is one of the number one complaints we get from people who outsource is, well, they don't do a great job. Well, nobody wants that crappy job, right? Like, no wonder. So I think where we have an opportunity now with AI is to automate the stuff we outsourced. Like, find a way to take this really tedious, undesirable stuff that is 80% of the time data entry, like checking sources, data enter. Like, how do we automate that? Now, my hot take on, like, brokers and where we're heading in this direction is whoever can reach adoption first and become the most efficient brokerage and reduce payrolls and reduce cost to operate and increase margin. It happens simultaneously because you're reducing your variable or fixed costs, but then also a lot of these things actually generate more revenue. So there is scheduling automation is a hot topic now. My friend Dima owns Bigger Picture. They're leading the way in that space. And if you book an appointment the second you get a tender, you get a chance at the more desirable appointments. You're almost guaranteed to see higher margins because it's a more desirable appointment time now. And you can, if you're a broker, buy better. If you're a carrier, have less downtime, less detention, whatever. And so you're actually, like, there's so many ways that these automation tools can improve your operating efficiencies, improve your margins. So now we're talking about a better cash flow than your competitors, which allows you to do a couple of things: run a more profitable business, but also buy better than your competition. So now, like C.H. Robinson, let's say they're already pretty good at buying, right? If they wanted to be cheap, they can be cheap because they could justify that. But what if they could be cheap and still make profits? So whoever, and I don't think it has to be a C.H. Robinson. The crazy thing to me is it could be a $40 million brokerage today or a $5 million brokerage today that figures this out first and runs with it in the next couple market cycles, and they go from 4 to 400 million in a couple years if they push, and now, like, they've solidified their spot. So once you can start buying better than your competition, your 7% margin, it, like, their 7% margin is your 17%, right?
Mhm.
And so you are making more money pricing at the same rates, or you can price cheaper than them and still make more in your cash flow. So then, hotter take, we end up with an environment where the 10 or 15 who succeeded and did it the best, the fastest, now are going to own the market, because the other people will just continue to try to beat them and fail because it's too late, too little, too late. And I think we'll see, like, maybe you can, peter along with a couple $1 million brokerage or an agency model of some sort that your buddies are giving you the freight, or however that works. But I think, like, in 10 years, this space that we consider super low barrier to entry, very like hyper competitive, because there's thousands of 35,000 brokerages right now, I don't think it will look anything like what it looks like right now. So what does that mean for carriers? I mean, unfortunately for carriers, I think the hard part is going to be as soon as a lot of like these brokerages start struggling to retain contracted freight or failing, like, who do brokers use? Owner operators, small fleets. That's who they're connecting. And so they're going to have to find the brokers who are winning, which will be on lower rates, right? That's why they're winning. So they're going to buy lower, which means now we have to figure out, how does this efficiency pass through to carriers too? So carriers are going to have to figure out, how are we automating parts of our business to control what we can control, to remain competitive, to be at the rates that these brokers and or, if I'm a carrier who wants to go direct myself, how do we be at those rates without losing money? Because we love relationships. I'm a relationship-based person, but at the end of the day, there is no shipper who's going to look at a 30% price increase and be like, well, I like that guy better. So technology is actually, like, what it is doing is creating a more hyper-competitive environment. I had a really interesting podcast episode. I think it was the one with Chris Pickett from Flock Freight now, but he was Coyote Curve guy, right? Pickett Research. And he was saying, him and I think it was maybe the special episode, so Jason Miller, and they kind of went back and forth on the idea that we're actually going to be entering more volatile market cycles, because you would think, like, everybody has better visibility into what's going on. So instead of doing this all the time, maybe we can start to do this. And they're like, no, it'll be short-lived, and like higher spikes and lower lows, because everybody can see immediately, oh, rates are going up. And then everybody, they react. And so then that reaction pushes, and then same thing, now when it flips back the other direction, everybody sees it faster, because we see the DAT trends. We see the, freight waves trend, tender rejection rates. Like, we can see it almost in real time, or within a week of it happening. It's a for-profit business with a lot of great capitalist businesses out there, right? And so, like, they want to react to that. They want to capitalize on those. And so I have a interesting outlook, I guess, but I really do think that this is like the future we're moving towards. And so I'm a big fan of like early adoption. Someone says, I think I could help you do this more efficiently, do this cheaper. I think you should be listening, at least. The difficult task is going to become like weeding through the BS, right? What AI is BS and what AI actually is. That's going to be not a fun task. I don't envy people who have to figure those things out, but I do think it's important.
Yeah, one of our this Tire Killer. He's a driver out of Arkansas. This cat runs a step decks kind of throughout the Midwest, and honestly, Tire Killer, you kind of hit it on the head. I mean, it's tough to cut costs as a carrier, just because these smaller companies can only buy at such a level. You know what I mean? It will be interesting to see how carriers try to find better ways to cut costs, or other ways to cut costs, especially as autonomous trucking, continues to kind of go down the road. I don't know where that ends up, or if some kind of hybrid thing.
We're pretty far away from autonomous trucking taking more than like 2% of our driving jobs or replacements. But I mean, I'm with you on that. Like, what can we really do to cut costs when we're a carrier? A couple things that are maybe kind of like a bright spot there, right? Brokers don't exist without the carriers. So the brokers who reach this point of like, oh, we're winning now. Well, whatever that floor is that even they have who are winning is being dictated by carriers. So like they still exist. Their operating costs are still their operating costs, right? market rebalances are always painful because people start taking things that are under their cost because they're already failing and they're desperate. And that hurts everybody. But then we rebalance, right? We get they leave, they fail, and then we can rebalance those rates to bottom. Right. So like that's never fun, even for the people who are going to stick around. It hurts them because other people are dragging them down with them a little bit. But yeah, I mean, insurance costs, you know, this is more in the brokerage space, but a surety bond 3 years ago would cost you like $2,000 maybe. And the surety bond market now, if you can even get approved, is like a minimum of $6,000 from what I'm hearing. And if you don't have great credit, they're asking for collateral of up to $25,000 down to get a surety bond. This is to open a brokerage, guys. So this is what I'm talking about too. When I used to say that like low barrier to entry, slap down $1,000, get your bond and go. If you don't have a 700 plus credit score now or 600 plus credit, that might be 10K down to go. So people are really going to start like having to probably rethink this, right? Like, do I want to do this? Because bond markets don't want to cover free right now. There's no bond markets that are like, oh, let's get into brokerage. Can't wait. So, I mean, the fail rate isn't going to be attractive for the next couple of years still probably. And so we're going to see less people come in, I think, in my opinion, I hope, kind of, and more people failing. But yeah, I mean, carriers are going to have to control what they can control. Will you ever be able to compete with the large fleets who do the same thing as you? No. But does everybody want to work with the large fleets? No. So like, you know, there's always those sales niches that you have to be able to find and get yourself into, right? And so that's where most of my focus is these days.
Yeah. I remember Fridays when I was dispatching for our truckload. It was always interesting. Fridays we had a deadhead report that we had to put into our manager. And oh, son of a bitch. If I had a bad week where I had a deadhead these guys, 80, 90 miles to get a load versus 30 or 20.
Yeah.
I would be like, it's like 1:30 and I'm like, I'm going to go to lunch and I'd press send and leave, and it just deadhead miles are real. You know what I mean? So tire killer, if you can, I mean, those are things you can somewhat control if you can find the right relationship, right? What is brokerage's reoccurring?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. I would love to address that real quickly. Yeah. They are, I don't want to say minimal. They can be minimal, right? To operate today, you have to have legally, like you have to have a surety bond and you have to have insurance. And so generally, even like a low end insurance premium is costing people like, someone could quote me if I'm wrong, but probably $2,000 to $3,000 down. $2,000 to $3,000 per quarter financed with like a financing fee. So immediately up front, you're going to get your insurance set up for anywhere for 2 to 10K probably. Plus your surety bond you paid for. And then as you grow, like especially in this environment, which is what I'm saying, like you will not be successful without a carrier vetting tool, an onboarding tool, probably a TMS. So there's some cheaper free systems, but we're talking hundreds or thousands a month on each of those. Mm-hmm. And so like it's mostly going to be like your tech and your insurance and liability costs, right? And then your people, whoever you have that you're trying to pay a living wage to as you're growing, even if it's just a couple people to start. But then as you grow, like let's assume they're getting larger and they're getting in with shippers. Something that I think carriers tend to forget is like, okay, if you ran a load for, Kroger, Pepsi, whoever it was through a broker, that broker probably paid a $3,000 TMS integration fee with them, a setup fee with them, then maybe another couple thousand for their EDI integration. Then they have to be compliant for ForKites with them. It's a requirement, and ForKites cost them X amount per month. And so like there are so many like, guess you could say like compliance costs to working with certain shippers that the brokers pay for. If the carrier goes direct, they pay for it, right? Which is why I think there's a lot of benefits to carriers working through brokers because you have more flexibility without having to pay all these costs to get into a network and managing all the setup processes. Then a lot of these shippers are going to have higher insurance premiums requirements. So like it used to be you had $1 million liability and 100K cargo, you were good to go. So many shippers now have moved to 5 million liability on their contracts. That now we're not talking about this. We're talking $30,000 a year minimum premiums now. So I'm not saying carriers don't carry insurance. Obviously they do. They have maybe some tech fees. They have people fees. But I think the biggest bulk of like a broker's expense outside of their own cost to have technology and operate is going to be whatever that they are held to by their shippers, which can get expensive sometimes, depending. And so sometimes there's also no guarantee. Like we've had as a broker, I remember approving thousands of dollars in setup fees with no business yet. Because if you didn't onboard to participate, they weren't going to award you. And you didn't even know you're going to get an award. So it's like a $3,000 pay to play. So that's real. But yeah, I will not ever sit here and say that like it's much easier to be a broker or a carrier than a broker or whatever. That is just simply, the balance sheets are much cleaner and simpler when you are a brokerage. But there are definitely costs.
Yeah, you just have different headaches. It just depends on, I'm not dealing with blowout of a tire, but, they're dealing, we're dealing with Kroger wanting to pay in 90 days instead of friggin', getting paid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Like, unless you're factoring, which if you're factoring, you're paying your fees, right? But I mean, if you're setting up with 90 days, that's if everything goes well, where people pushed to 120 days a couple years ago. So, I mean, and carriers want paid in 7 to 15. So like your cash flow is disgusting, actually. Like this industry shocked me with its cash flow cycle. The brokerage side.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. Obviously, I'm not sure if that's why you came on to talk to us today. But we always love hearing from you. You bring so much value. Is there any other thoughts you wanted to give with us today? Or?
That was great. Maybe we'll just piggyback on that and say, like, I do think it's important right now to be thinking ahead, and that could mean like 2 months. It could mean 10 years. Like if you're in freight, like you're probably not planning to exit, right? Like most of us aren't like, yeah, I'll quit soon. So just start thinking ahead and start thinking about differentiators and like, what are you going to do to create a sustainable business and stand out? I am admittedly a little less up to date on automation for asset sides because I've been heavy in brokerage, but there's some really cool companies I'd be happy to connect any brokers with if they're looking for like ways to improve their automation. But yeah, I think just start, don't laugh it off. Don't not take it seriously. And also like C.H. Robinson, ArcBest, JB Hunt, these guys are not where they're at because they make stupid decisions. That's just a fact. Like we can all talk about it and we can hate on it and we can judge them for layoffs and for hiring and firing. But at the end of the day, they are running a lot of the market share in this space. Some of them are doing it very, very profitably too. And so it's like you kind of have to say, okay, like, they're beholden to stakeholders. They have shareholders internally and externally who are expecting results, and they're making sure that they do their best to produce those results. So if they're making big moves like this, if they're investing in tech, they're investing in AI, and they're laying people off, it's probably a good chance. So these people think ahead. That's something I will say that. I came from a corporate background. I started ArcBest, right? Like I saw things when I was there as a management trainee that became public news in 7 years later, like as this great big advancement. But there is no such thing as, last month we thought this AI was cool. So like if AI is here in our space and it's rolling out, they've already done the work to vet it, test it, make sure it works, proof of concept, implement, so it's been ongoing for years, trust and believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which means we have to catch up, right? But it's also easier. We have a faster adoption process as small companies. That's the beauty of it. You can look at something today and have it up in a month, whereas those organizations do have to take 2 years. So like it's not too late to be like, okay, let's start caring too, and that's why it's exciting right now.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, I always felt like with being a small business owner, you're like, I'm always behind, and it's like, no, you can catch up fairly quickly. It doesn't take much for you to do the add-on and go. So I'm with you, Samantha. Just keep your eye out for those opportunities. And as we have a lot of carriers that watch, just keep looking for those. Oh, I could do this, or I could get into this buying group to help me reduce my cost of tires by 3%. Everything adds up.
Fuel cards, whatever it is that you can find, like what little things add up. And I also want to say, like, last thing I'll say, and then I got to go, but I have never been more like bullish on the fact that it is an advantage to be small right now, to be nimble. Like there's so much changing every year, we just all of a sudden exploded in advancements in the way we're going to navigate the market and how you can connect with shippers and brokers and carriers and all of this stuff that like, this would be a daunting time to be a $500 million brokerage looking at new tech with 300 people to train on it.
Yeah.
Like, you are you, or maybe you have 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 people. Like, take advantage of that. Start being willing to like get your team to go, let's try things, let's let it fail, and let's try the next one if that's what it takes until we find what works. Because these other companies can't do that. They can't invest and then it fail and then try the next one very easily. So like you kind of that's a great opportunity right now. Shippers love the flexibility too that smaller providers can give them. So that is an advantage, I think, in this market.
Yeah, I agree. Samantha Jones, thank you for being on. You always bring the house. We see you once a month. Obviously, check out her podcast. Meet Me for Coffee is truly just a gift. If you guys are driving down the road, listen to it because she brings great advice. You can also catch Samantha Jones on LinkedIn. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you so much. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Samantha.
Better. Yeah, I think George Gomez kind of hits it on the head. If you've made it through the last couple of years as a broker or a carrier, you know, God, you've got so many scars. Yeah. You've been able to friggin' cut your costs. You've been able to operate and be able to be flexible. I know it sucks. I get that. You know, but you hit it on the head, George. It's good to see you, by the way. You know who else too? I don't know if he's still watching. Freight Master Resource. I love this guy. He's got an incredible friggin' Facebook group.
Yeah,
it's just out of control.
Yeah, the TQL
I saw
expansion
that.
on
I
that.
saw this push. That's crazy.
Pickleball court, 24/7 weight room.
Yeah.
Something for mothers as well. I don't know if it was like a daycare or something.
I think it was a daycare.
It was a daycare. Incredible. And then there's something else, but gosh, Samantha really hit some good points. I was really just kind of locked in on what she was saying because she kind of puts things into perspective of, you know, what you could be doing right now to keep your business going, keep it healthy. It's tough. Yeah. So I think if you didn't, you know, rewind that back to what she was saying, and you can take a lot from that. Yeah. Freight Master Resource still. Since 2002, the number of manufacturing establishments in the U.S. has dropped by over 45,000. However, there are many new manufacturing projects across the U.S. planning ahead. Yeah. It'll really be interesting to see who gets into the office. Tire Killer says, no, we've just gotten deeper in debt. There's some truth to that, actually, if you've seen debt cycles and things like that. There's some interesting aspects where definitely kind of, you know, treading water in certain cases. If I was a carrier, for me, what's exciting is, where, and I know Samantha's like, well, we're a ways out on autonomous trucks. I agree, but, it all starts small. I think I think it's called Waymo. There's an autonomous car company that's like in 6 or 7 different cities across America right now. They had over, last quarter, they had over 150,000 rides given. Okay. Okay, let's be honest. You and I are in Denver. Well, it's not in Denver. It's out in like West Coast. Right. You and I are in Sacramento. We jump in a freaking cab and nobody's in there. That is going to freak me the hell out. Yeah. But I think of how quickly that tech is coming. Right? Cars, 100 and some thousand rides. It's impressive, man. You know what I mean? Now that doesn't throw a spear onto the other, the Ubers and all that, and the millions of rides. But it's coming. You know what I mean? And so I would definitely just kind of be in that, just watch it. At least keep an eye on it and say, okay, is that 10 years from now, or is that 5 years from now? Or is it 20 years from now? I don't know. It'll take a while for America to trust 80,000 pounds driving down the damn road without somebody. Yeah. But is it going to happen at some point? Probably. Yeah. I don't think you ever get a freaking computer or a robot to drive or strap down one of Tire Killer's loads. I'll tell you that. Right. So there's something to be said about the potential efficiencies that could come from that if you're a carrier, in my personal opinion. So that honestly, thinking about, we don't have Ubers in our small town. We don't do Uber around here. But thinking about just getting into something with no driver, right? It freaked me out. It freaked me out. But you don't have to have those awkward conversations, especially when you're 3 a.m. on the way from the club. Don't want to talk about it. I got a buddy that
I got a buddy that says this all the time, and I love that he says this because he's been saying it for like a decade too. He's like, autonomous trucks are going to talk to autonomous warehouses, and I'm like, you are so on the point. And he was born 100 years too early, I think, but maybe not 100, but 50. Either way, a good show today. I always love our audience and what you guys got going on. I hope you guys have an incredible Labor Day. Same. What are you doing for Labor Day, real quick?
Football all weekend.
Just nonstop.
Nebraska, tune in.
Yeah, go Big Red.
If you send me a picture of you watching the Husker game, I will give you a month free of eCarrierCheck.
I freaking love that.
Tune into the Nebraska game.
Fox Sports.
Send me a picture you're watching it.
Let's get it done.
Dylan Raiola, our Lord and Savior.
This is it. We go national champ. We are making the playoff this year.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too.
But Jared, I appreciate your time, man. We still had so much market update to talk through today, so
you get to it.
We don't have enough time. But guys, go check out the market. Go check out Freight Waves. Go keep in touch with what's going on around us. Add some value to yourself. Yeah, Tire Killer's working. Yeah, maybe throw on some football games on the radio. I think you're a podcast guy, though.
Is he an XM guy? I wonder if he does XM. College football, UCLA. Let's get it.
UCLA.
I love Joe. Look at this. I think we play UCLA this year. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We play UCLA. We should try to meet up.
We should probably do a little side bet on that one.
I would agree.
We'll talk.
Right, George,
we'll talk. You guys, thanks for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe, and set the bell.